Welcome everyone to Touching Base. I'm your host, Eric Arnold. And today I'm going to be joined by my friends, Andrew Naw, Andy Ink, and Joe Olson. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
Doing great. Good evening.
Yeah, Joe, it's been a minute since we've seen you, so I'm glad to have you back. I know you've been, busy saving the world and moving all at the same time. You're a very busy guy. It is a big week. With this just in a couple hours, we are going to be having NFL football being brought to us and making millions of just fans around the world happy, including gamblers and degenerates and fantasy football nerds like us. So I just, how you guys feeling about it? Are you excited? Are you ready to go?
I will tell you what, I mean, as somebody who is an avid yet very uninformed football fan, I am just excited to see the aspects that everybody can appreciate. Like, one, we haven't seen football with real fans, like packing the stadiums in almost 2 years now. I know everybody's excited about that, especially after seeing a weekend of college football this past weekend. I know that everybody's excited to see that. It's also kind of a fresh start, like for life in general. We've not only kind of moved past it with football, but like kids are back in school full time. Everybody's sick of it being hot in the summer. They're done with their summer vacations. We've got a new 17 game schedule on the NFL slate this year.
Did you really miss that exhibition game? You were really worried about it?
No, I didn't think about it for even 5 seconds, and I know you guys didn't either. But
no.
But it just kind of feels like a fresh start of something that we really missed. Even though it was here last year, it just feels like it's finally back for real this time, and that's what I'm looking forward to most.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey guys, real quick, before I forget, this is actually our week long ceremony that we do. We like to share a beverage together. I want to get into this NFL. I mean, Joe's got us off to a great start. I want to touch on some of those. But real quick, what are we drinking tonight? What are we sharing?
I've got myself a Heineken, kind of going classic tonight.
Don't touch your Heine. Okay.
I'm going with the Devil's Backbone again. Week 2 of it.
Oh boy. Mr. Naw, you going to look at
Bullet bourbon.
Straight from the bottle.
Yeah, is that all from last week?
If only. People used to. I started hearing about like bourbon and ginger ale, and I was like, oh, that's kind of a weird combo. Oh boy, is it delicious.
Yeah. Well, you and I are similar minded. I'm actually going with a bourbon as well, but I'm going with the standard Coca-Cola Classic with it, with a smidge of ice. I like mine to be nice and cold when it touches the lips.
Once it hits your lips.
NFL started. Joe, I know you were saying you're excited. It's for a lot of different reasons. What any of those touch with you guys, or you guys?
As a Lions fan, the preseason usually doesn't mean anything because, of course, the season they went 4-0 in the preseason. They went 0-16 in the regular season.
Sure. Yeah.
And now we're excited that we can possibly challenge our own record and go 0-17. So
yeah, we're going to have some competition. It looks like Jacksonville and Houston. Whoever that wins that first game might be giving them, or whoever loses, I guess, that first game is going to be giving them a run this year, I think. What about you, Mr. Naw?
Yeah, just interested in a lot of the things. A lot of interesting storylines, like kind of we'll get into it, I'm sure, but like the dawn of the young quarterback, right? Like now, 3 big quarterback draft classes of guys that are come in and start pretty damn quickly and are frankly pretty exciting, and bring some new things to the game, right? Like this kind of challenging that old way of thinking. You have guys like. Aaron Rodgers is the one that comes to mind that sat for a spell right before coming in and starting. These guys are starting in, week 1, like, the Jets with Zach Wilson never even brought really a reliable backup option, and no veteran backup just said, no, you're the guy. Yeah. So, I think that's interesting. And I did miss the 4th preseason game a little bit, if only that it made this gap right now really long, and I don't like that. But that's
I'll say for me, Joe kind of touched on it. It's the social aspect of this, because I know that football is America's passion. You can argue all day that baseball is America's pastime, but football is America's passion. That's the one we all look forward to. There are people in the office who don't normally care about sports at all, but they all know who won on Sunday, and they're all willing to talk about it. And people identify with teams. I mean, people will say, "Oh, you're a Ravens fan. Oh, you're a Redskins or a Washington fan. You're a Jets fan." And people, like, for some reason, they seem to bond over that. And there's something about that, like, cultural difference, because we don't get this with baseball. We don't, maybe with hockey sometimes in a hockey town, but not globally, or not at least like continentally, nearly as much as we get with football. And so they're in college football is, one level that's kind of a little bit of a younger crowd. NFL is something that everybody seems to get into. And that's the part that I really look forward to. There is a different vibe that's happening, and really, especially if your team's halfway decent, which, my team being Washington, I'm really excited. I mean, the Ravens are going to be good. I just grew up a Washington fan, so I'm rooting for them, and there might be a real change. And there's a different level of excitement, at least happening for me. But what about some of those storylines? I mean, what are some of the storylines going into this year? We've talked about COVID. We all kind of know that that's going to be the elephant that's going to be in the room all year long. But besides COVID, what are some other storylines that you guys are really looking forward to? Some coaches out there, some players out there, some just individual records, careers coming to an end, careers just getting started. What are some that you guys are looking forward to?
Well, I've got kind of just 1 and 1A here, but one, we've got kind of 5 prominent rookie quarterbacks that are playing in the NFL this year. Most of which are going to probably start, if not week 1, sometime throughout the year. And so I don't know how many times that's happened, but it probably hasn't happened very often ever.
Who is the biggest bust candidate out of that group?
The biggest
by
bust?
Talent, by situation.
I think that Zach Wilson, just because he's largely unproven on a big stage college level, and also because the Jets have proven to be very, very dysfunctional. I know Noah can comment very, very deeply on that, but I think that because of the lack of talent around him and their historic nature of being kind of a dysfunctional franchise.
Are the Jets?
Go ahead and respond, Noah.
That always makes me nervous, and in years past, it's always and with Sanchez, with Gino, with Darnold, it's always been like, oh, they've got this young quarterback, this is going to be great.
Wilson has looked way better in preseason. Like,
agreed, and I'll come back there. They never have put, Eric, I'm glad you gave it the caveat, like the wrong situation, right? Like, in most of my existence, the Jets have been the wrong situation for essentially anything.
Oh, it's not just the Jets. I didn't realize they and the Giants have the worst records. Like, they tie for the worst record in the NFL over the last 4 years. Both of them have won 18 games in 4 years.
And I was talking to my uncle about this the other day about, because, we speak sporadic. Sports guy. No. Basically, how am I feeling, right? I feel like there's adults in the building again, right? Like, you have Joe Douglas, who is a football guy. You have Bob Saleh, who's we know him. We know him going back to San Francisco and his rah-rah, and like the guys you can tell guys just want to play for him. You heard that with Richard Sherman. You heard that with, Fred Warner, like some of these other.
You heard a lot from Richard Sherman, to be fair.
Sure. So I was going to talk about the Seattle Police Department, but yeah, like there's a lot of people that you get the sense really want to play for this guy, and then they've done like the team produced. So it's rose-colored glasses, whatever. But it's these team produced videos that we see now a lot about training camp, about like the off season, and it just feels different. And I've said that before, and it's felt different before, but like this is different. Like there's smart people in the building. They're not going out and saying we're going to win the playoffs, we're going to get in the playoffs and do this. We're going to say they're coming out and saying like we have a lot of young guys who have never played before. We want them to play. We want them to get opportunity. Yeah. It's just a different experience.
Who's your bust? Who's going to be the bust
of those quarterbacks?
Of the tier quarterbacks.
Justin Fields has issues just because of the situation he's in. He's probably in one of the worst situations. Look, I'm an Urban Meyer hater. That's somebody else probably very well document that. I'm not buying him in Jacksonville. I'm not buying that rah-rah college stuff in Jacksonville. We've seen that movie. Chip Kelly, guy from LSU, Les Miles, like
Nick Saban. You probably heard of him. Yeah.
That's what I was thinking of. We've seen these things, right? Like it's what goes on in college.
Steve Spurrier.
No, there's some kind of exceptions to that rule, of course, but I think that Lawrence is a very talented quarterback. I think he's going to be just fine, but like the whole like Jim Nagy kind of Chicago Bears, Andy Dalton experiences gives me a lot of concerns.
Sure. Ink, what about you?
I was torn between Fields and Wilson myself, and I think the Jets kind of being historically not good with those young quarterbacks kind of takes it more so. But I was kind of with Nall with Fields. Ohio State doesn't necessarily put out the most premium quarterbacks overall unless they transfer somewhere else. And then overall, I just think between the two of them, it's kind of they're both going to probably start earlier than they should, whether it's game 1, game 2, game 4. I know Fields is still fighting for it, but I think it's going to be Zach Wilson or Wilson over in the Jets.
I actually think we're all wrong. I actually think it is Trevor Lawrence. I think Trevor Lawrence is being put into an awful situation. I don't think it has anything to do with talent. I think that he's going to develop as well as Derek Carr. I think he's going to be in a god-awful situation with Urban Meyer. I know that he kind of lit it up, in the final preseason game, but as we were talking earlier, that doesn't really matter. I want to see what happens when he gets under there. I have zero doubt in the world that he has awful talent, but I think he's going to develop poorly, and he's not going to have a chance to get better because he's going to be learning the wrong things and practicing the bad habits. Not that Urban Meyer, he's forgotten more football than what I know. But
no, I think it's going to be similar to when Joey Harrington went to the Lions. I know Harrington isn't quite as good of a quarterback as Lawrence is, but the situation is very similar where Joey Harrington went to that horrible Lions team and just couldn't learn how to do anything necessarily at a pro level other than what he took from college.
And I think that's actually a fair comparison. I think that's what we're going to end up seeing. You've got a college coach teaching kid the NFL. And I don't know if Urban Meyer's ready to. I think he needed a veteran quarterback if he was going to go into this. I think he should have brought one in, and develop Lawrence. But as we were talking about earlier, that's not really the way things are trending. I think Lawrence is. Let's be honest. I really think Meyer's going to be there a year, maybe 2 tops, and then I think he ends up taking a year off and then going back to the college level, either as a broadcaster or as a coach.
And have an improved payroll back at Ohio State. It's the type of school.
Right. Yeah.
I do want to defend the Jets just a little bit. Like, you guys are spot on in the way that they've handled these kind of situations in the past. Again, like, I do think this is different. I think the Jets have done a better job than the other examples in surrounding their quarterback with players, right? So you have the Jets, the last 2 years, they had first round draft picks on the offensive line. They had what probably should have been a first rounder wide receiver this year in Elijah Moore, who somebody in our fantasy league picked him up. And then they went out and got that's this guy.
Oh, this guy. Okay.
They went out and got a second tier free agent receiver in Corey Davis, who's probably going to be a target hog. They brought on like Keelan Cole. They're putting a lot more around it. It's not like the Sanchez or Geno years where it's like, cool, we got a quarterback. Let's go get 6 interior defensive linemen to help out the rest of the team. It's like they're putting stuff around them.
Hey, I need to jump in because I think that Hank and Eric, you guys are just completely wrong. I mean, first of all, nobody was saying that Joey Harrington was like the next Andrew Luck. I mean, I know Andrew Luck wasn't there yet, but to even compare those two, it's just ridiculous. Okay, so there was no saying that Joey Harrington was like a surefire number 1 pick from the moment he stepped on the field. I mean, like from the moment Trevor Lawrence stepped on the field, everybody knew he was a franchise quarterback. Okay,
he did look good too to start the whole thing.
Oh my gosh, you guys, your memory is just absolutely ridiculous. Like,
what is your memory of Trevor Lawrence playing an NFL game?
I don't have one yet, but
right.
I bet you it'll be better than what Joey Harrington showed. And I have never ever seen anybody be described this way by like Trevor Lawrence being described besides Andrew Luck. And Joey
Harrington didn't turn out the way we all thought he was going to either.
I even said Joey Harrington wasn't nearly as good as, but it's a similar situation going to a club that's not going to handle it very well.
Joey Harrington, oh my gosh! Like I wouldn't be able to look myself in the mirror at night. Oh my gosh, good. God bless you though. And the other point that I wanted to bring up is that we're talking. If he is really as transformational, Trevor Lawrence is as transformational a talent, then the Colts were also terrible when Andrew Luck took over there, right? 2-14. Trevor Lawrence is going to be able
Yeah, but they
to
were
make
pretty
up.
good before that because they had Peyton Manning not long before that. Then they did the whole suck for luck campaign. But think about otherwise, like Jameis Winston was out there, who was supposed to be just this godsend, after winning the, NCAA title as a freshman. There was countless of these guys. I mean, like even go back to, was it Peyton Manning and Ryan Leaf? There was actually debate whether or not Ryan Leaf was going to be just as good, if not better, than Peyton Manning. I mean, really, Tim Couch, is up there. So we're not necessarily talking about like pure talent. We're talking about guys who are just getting put in a crap situation. And I said David Carr, the first Carr, Fresno State Carr, who went to Texas. David Carr, who had no chance, to ever be successful in that system. Because he looked like Patrick Mahomes did in the Super Bowl, with absolutely nobody blocking him. And I don't necessarily know if Trevor Lawrence is going to have that terrible amount of blocking, but I think he's going to have that terrible amount of development. And I think out of all the quarterbacks in there, I think he's got the toughest situation. Even just the fact, look at it. I mean, like, he is going to the team that lost the most games last year. The ownership is a joke. Jacksonville is a joke city. And Urban Meyer, I think, is a joke as an NFL head coach. And I see that you clearly left the conversation because you knew I was right.
I'm so disgusted.
I can't even look at you right now. But I think that's, if he does well, I mean, Baker Mayfield, honestly, for all the crap he gets, good for him for turning Cleveland into, a little bit of a contender this year, which actually I think is something we wanted to talk about anyway. Because, he did something with that organization that I never thought was possible, which was actually make them, likable, and maybe not even likable, but a team that can actually win, and people are projecting to win. What do you think about Cleveland? Is Cleveland the dandy this year? Are they this year's Buffalo Bills?
I think that they need to prove it. And, this is probably the first time in as long as they've been a franchise that they've, by many folks been favored to win their own division. And so, or at least very close. And so some people might argue the Ravens or the Steelers have a good shot too. But I think this is the first time in as long as I can remember that the Browns have even been in that discussion. I'll say this. They have an excellent roster. All their skill positions, minus Baker, are elite. Their defense is elite. They have Hall of Famer probably like at pretty much every position. I think that if they don't go deep into the playoffs, I know. I saw that look. I like it.
I love it. As much crap as you're giving me, Joey, I couldn't look at myself in the mirror. You saying that Hall of Famer at every position on the Browns roster.
Every skilled position. All right. But I do think that if they don't go deep into the playoffs, it's because Baker has a ceiling, and I mean that's what it is. He's proven he's a serviceable starting quarterback. He now has a grown up for a head coach. It seems like they got the right pieces around him, and so if he does not go deep in the playoffs, it's because he has a ceiling. And please prove me wrong.
I think that's fair, and I think that's a very good assessment, particularly around Baker. I do think if they are short, it's because he's not quite there, a la like Garoppolo Super Bowl a couple years ago.
Garoppolo was 5 minutes away from winning the Super Bowl. Like
I'm throw away.
But he was. You could argue he was their most limiting factor in that playoffs, and particularly in the Super Bowl. Anyway, I do agree. I think that Cleveland is very much aligned with that kind of Buffalo of a couple years ago, right, where they brought a new regime into the building. They're starting to kind of stabilize things. They're doing better. They're hitting on better on draft picks. Building up a defense first. You're bringing in some skilled position players. Granted, some of them are there. But building it out a little bit, and then as Joe said, you have an adult run the offense. I do think that like this is Baker's chance to like really take another leap. I don't know that he does or doesn't, but I think if he's going to, he's going to do it this year.
Does he have to?
And I do think it's does he have to? He's looking at trying to get paid, so if he wants to get paid, I think he has to.
I think he gets paid no matter what, if I'm being honest. But does he have to be elite, or can he just be good with that Hall of Fame roster he's got?
He's got to be a little bit better than good, just because of the nature of the quarterback position these days. Yeah, but I do think they're frisky. That's a tough division. I think they're going to split with Baltimore. They're going to split with Pittsburgh. They have to beat teams that are not as good as them. Like that's the thing that, right? Like even going back to when the Jets sucked less, that was another problem that they kind of had even with the Rex Ryan era. is they play down to competition a lot, and I think the Browns are guilty of that over their last few years when they've been better. They got to beat teams that are not as good as them and like do it well, to really stand above and to get a few extra W's and get at the top of the, get a home playoff game.
I think as important as Baker Mayfield's play is, it's been these last few years of like breaking that perennial loser status. Like you're saying, they win in the games they're supposed to win and then challenge the games that they are underdogs in. And that's going to be partly because of Baker Mayfield's play, but also the mentality of Cleveland isn't going to be the perennial loser with the jersey with 47 quarterbacks on it, whatever that people would do, and they just keep rotating through them. And I think that's just as important as Baker Mayfield's play.
You guys, I mean, Baker is not going to get paid no matter what, okay? Like, if they go out there and they have a first-round playoff exit this year, they're still taking phone calls all year long, I promise you. I mean, does anybody look in the mirror and say that Deshaun Watson, Texans call, they're not taking that phone call? Some high
Not right
top
now.
10.
They're not taking that phone call right now.
Maybe not, but I'm just saying that level of talent, even if Baker has a decent year, they're not taking that phone call.
I don't think we can take it for granted what he's done. I mean, like he's become the face of that franchise. Now, I've been on board saying this whole time, I don't think it's a good idea to just pay these quarterbacks, especially ones that we kind of know are in that middle to high tier, top tier money. But with the way this new salary cap is projected to work out, we've already seen some of the other quarterbacks, get their big deals. I think he is going to get paid. I think someone's going to have to take a chance because there's still such a market for average to better than quarterback play. Hell, Washington might be one of those teams that would be probably happy with a Baker Mayfield as much as possible, leading whatever team they got coming out of the tunnel next year. Because it ain't going to be Taylor Heineke, it ain't going to be Ryan Fitzpatrick forever. So they're going to have to pay someone eventually. And they might be, a team like Washington might be a candidate for that. I wouldn't be thrilled for it, but I wouldn't hate it. I guess I'd have to look at the actual numbers. But it's hard to find 32 NFL level quarterbacks. Realistically, to win this league, there's probably 15 to 20, they can year in and year out, there's probably 20 teams we know who their quarterback's going to be next year, and there's probably another 12 that we say, I'm not sure, maybe. And I think those on the Cleveland for a long time was that team who was always on the outside looking in. Now having a chance, probably going to be good enough. Maybe they find someone out there, maybe they don't, but I do think Baker's going to get paid by someone because he's just above that tier of mediocrity.
Yeah, but I mean, is he going to get paid by Cleveland? I mean, they have the roster that they've got a 2 to 3 year window now with that roster, that this is a Super Bowl roster if the quarterback is right. So if he has an okay season, they leave in the first round or something like that, are they not taking calls to try and upgrade to get that Super Bowl?
You really want Kirk Cousins gone, is what you want.
I'm really hoping that the Vikes call, you know what I mean? That's
right off or whatever they need. Don't have a bad roster either, to be fair.
I think unless he kicks all the doors in this year and really just slings it, and he's Pro Bowl and in the category of I don't say MVP, that's a lot, but clearly Pro Bowl, maybe even knock on the All Pro door, like really just standing out. I'm gonna play my cards with at least a franchise tag and see what happens, because then if I can trade him, if I got an offer I can't refuse. I just like you said, he's gonna get paid at some point. I agree with that, but I don't think it needs to be me if I'm not really satisfied with what I'm getting. I don't need to give him $150 million over 6 years or whatever asinine thing we're at now, if I don't think he gives me the chance to win the big game, right?
Before we transition to kind of teams that we think might be a bust this year, as opposed to teams that might be, Cinderellas this year, this year's Buffalo. Is there anyone else out there besides Cleveland that we think could be a potential team? I mean, I said mine earlier. I think that San Francisco, to you guys, pre-show, is a team that I actually think very well could win the Super Bowl. I think that I think it's going to be Trey Lance. I do think it might be Jimmy G to start, or I don't remember if they officially named the starter yet. But eventually, we all know that Trey Lance is going to be running that offense. After his first throw of preseason, we all pretty much knew.
Now, as a Lions fan, I was joked around about the going 0-17. So I mean, most Lions fans, I think, have one eye over in LA watching Stafford go over there, and I think he's really going to fit well with that system they already have built. And I think they're going to make a deep run into the playoffs, if not make it to the championship game or the Super Bowl.
They better, because that that salary cap is running out real quick, and they have really, I mean, they have surrendered. We've talked about this in previous podcasts. Every single draft pick they've
next 12 years or something.
Right, like next 5 years of draft picks are first and second rounders or whatever it is are like out the window at this point. They've invested heavily into their stars, and now they have more stars arguably probably than any number ones at their positions in any other team. Especially on the defensive end. So that team is knows what they are. They're top heavy oriented. And I don't know if that's going to be the recipe to win a Super Bowl. I think they were so close to winning it, and they wanted it so bad that they sold out trying to win it. And now I think they have to pay the piper, if I'm being honest with you. So this year with Stafford, which kicking that can a little bit further down the road, I think this better be that year.
It's a steep decline after this year if they don't.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Go out there, and I'm going to go in the same division and say that Arizona is going to be my sleeper pick. They not only have Kyler Murray's kind of not really in a prove it year, but like this is the year that if he really is going to be the answer, he's going to take the next step. Also kind of a big year for Cliff Kingsbury, and they've brought in some kind of key veteran leadership. They got J.J. Watt in there now. A.J. Green is another weapon on the outside. So name me a team that has two better options at wide receiver than DeAndre Hopkins and A.J. Green. I don't know if there is any, but there's less than three. And so I think that if they can make it through that division, a very tough division, as we've already talked about, but I do think that they're a sleeper, and really, because they don't get talked about out on the West Coast that much, that they could really surprise some people this year.
I'm going to say keep an eye on the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
Sorry. Pittsburgh Steelers to come back and make the very strong defense, and granted, Ben Roethlisberger is probably going to arrive in the AARP parking spot. But if he comes back and has even 50% of Ben Roethlisberger, is better than a lot of other people, I think they can easily find themselves in a wild card spot and maybe make a run if the defense is frisky.
Yeah, I think that's a good choice. I mean, people forget how good they were last year, just because I think they got knocked out early, and that was really just because of quarterback play. So we're watching Ben, tick, 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 on him. This might be one of his last years to make a run at, but that team's every single year, as much as it hates me to hear the Yinzers lose their mind, they have reason to shout. So good for them. Who is going to stink it up this year? Is there a team out there that we think, barring injury, barring anything like that, is there a team out there where you're saying, I think they're a little overrated?
My first thought is the Cowboys. I think they are just primed to just be a big letdown this year.
To be the Cowboys.
Based on Dak Prescott recovering from an injury. He may not get injured this year, but I don't think he's going to play to the level he did previously, at least not maybe until next year. He's fully healed from all that. And Ezekiel Elliott, he did really well last year, but I just think they're primed. Their defensive backfield is horrible, and I think they're just primed. And those are the same kind of fans like Pittsburgh, where they just talk, win, lose, or draw. So I think they're going to have a letdown this year.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say the Eagles. Not that everybody's expecting the Eagles to win the Super Bowl or anything like that.
Unless they're in Philadelphia, which they're winning the Super Bowl this year.
Of course, right? But Jalen Hurts, it is basically if he doesn't prove that he is a serviceable starting quarterback, then their team is awful. And so, even if he does, then they still may not be that great. But I think that the Eagles in a pretty bad division in the NFC East, if he doesn't prove Jalen Hurts that he's capable of winning that division, then he's probably they're going to be taking phone calls about him here in this offseason also.
Probably not stepping out of the ledge here, but the Atlanta Falcons look to be pretty lousy. Matt Ryan and Calvin Ridley are going to make anybody frisky, but that's a really tough division.
Pitts, they got Pitts now.
Yeah, sure, Cup. They're pretty talent deficient outside of that group. And like I said, tough division. Kind of wish Atlanta had done a little bit something for the future this year, and I think maybe just moving on from Julio and trying to get some pieces back. Maybe that was the closest thing.
Matt Ryan might get moved. I don't know if they were going to move him. It seems like they would have already. But if things go real south real quick, they might give him an opportunity to go to someone like an Indianapolis or someone like that we were talking earlier that might be a quarterback away. I'm going to say a team out here, actually your Super Bowl champions. I think your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And just go with me on this. Obviously, I know that they have a ton of talent. I know that their quarterback's going to go down as the greatest of all time. But I really, if I remember correctly, that team got hot at the end. Now I know that they were gelling. I know that it took them a while. They also had signed in Brown and everybody else kind of late, and it took them a minute. But that team changed when that defense changed, and when that defense got real hot towards the end, that's when they became that Super Bowl winner. And I think that's what's going to happen. I don't know if that's going to last again. I think another age on Tom, who's 44, I think we said going into this, and I'm sure he's in great shape than I've ever been in. When he's 60, he'll be better shape than I am right now. But I think they're a little bit high. Everyone has them, repeating and repeating the magic that they did, and I get why they're doing that. But there's something about it that just doesn't smell as good as what it looks. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I worry about it, lasting again. And quite frankly, it's hard to win a Super Bowl. It is hard to win in the playoffs. And that team's expectation is not just to get to the playoffs, but to win the Super Bowl. And anything less than that is going to be a downgrade. And I'm curious to see. I think they're going to win their division, but I don't think it could get much past that. I don't think they're as good as what we last saw them. I remember them being much more average throughout the regular season.
Didn't they return all 22 starters?
They did, and I have no doubt that they'll be good. I don't think they're going to be as good as what the media and what Vegas has them at. I think Vegas has them as like the winners of the Super Bowl this year. So that actually transitions me to this. We got 5 minutes left. Just go around. We've got a little bit of time. Who's playing in the Super Bowl? Who's winning the Super Bowl this year? Your hot take.
All right, so I'll start, and I'm going to go with the AFC, and this is kind of just something that I think will make everybody feel good too, but I really think Buffalo's getting there this year. I think that they've got another year, Josh Allen getting coached by Sean McDermott, an excellent coaching staff. I think that the AFC East is still in kind of a state of flux, more than it ever has been in the last 15, 20 years, where they're going to have an easier time getting to the playoffs. I think that they're ready to turn that corner. Excellent roster, excellent
defense. Sold out
defense.
this year. The Pats spent a bunch of money this year. They're going to try to argue with you, but they're going to be flying under Mac Jones, his leadership.
Right. Yeah, they're not going to the Super Bowl with Mac Jones. That's another discussion. But Buffalo in the AFC, and then the NFC. I'm gonna disagree with you and say that Tampa Bay is going to make it back there. I've been done betting against Tom Brady now for about 4 or 5 years. I just keep on thinking that he's gonna join the AARP card program and all that kind of stuff. But he just keeps on producing MVP level seasons. All those skilled players around him. Their division sucks, and I think that they're going to be back there.
Their division sucking does play a big factor. That means they're most likely to win that.
That helped them in New England for a long time. Yeah. So I say Tampa Bay over Buffalo, close game. 3
minutes, no.
I have Green Bay over Buffalo. We kind of forget about Green Bay wins 13 games without really trying that hard.
13-3 last year.
Yeah.
Was that disgruntled quarterback?
Yeah, I think he was the MVP last year, and I think if he keeps some of those offensive pieces in play, I think they could be really frisky. I have them beating Tampa in the NFC Championship game just for the kind of statistical reasons you pointed out, Eric, right? And then I agree very much with Joe on Buffalo. I think that they can take another step yet. I do think Josh Allen's a real deal. I think he's shown that. They've got some great stuff around him. They play really good defense. I think they're over Kansas City in the AFC Championship. I think Kansas City's going to have the injury bug bite them. They've been pretty fortunate this run so far. That
they just paid Mahomes too. They just paid him. They're going to have a little less room, a little less wiggle.
Yeah, so I like Green Bay over Buffalo.
Ink?
No, I got the Chiefs over the Rams. I also have Green Bay losing to the Rams in the championship because they're both are good teams there. And I just think, like I said earlier, Stafford and the Rams is just kind of a perfect fit. And how sweet would it be for Stafford to finally beat Aaron Rodgers in a big game on a big setting? That would be nice to see that. But I still think the Chiefs are stronger.
Yeah. All right, I've got two teams that nobody has named here. I've actually got the Tennessee Titans playing against your San Francisco 49ers. I said earlier, I think San Francisco is going to make a big run. I don't think they're that far away from that Super Bowl team that they were just 2 years ago. I think they have better quarterback play. I think they have a pissed off coach and a healthy team and a good defense. And I think Tennessee has just been knocking on that door for the last few years trying to get in there. And I think this is going to be their year. And I think then the doors are falling off Travis Henry. or Derrick Henry, excuse me. Travis Henry, they fell off a little while back, but Derrick Henry, they're falling off this year. But gentlemen, we have less than a minute. I know you all agree with me, and you believe that's probably the correct answer going into this. But with less than a minute to go, gentlemen, always enjoy this time. It's my favorite time of the year, our favorite time of the week in particular, and we've got football coming up in just a few hours. So cheers to all of you, and we'll do it again next week. Good night, guys.
Good.
Cheers.
Have a good one.